The Miami Heat have a massive opportunity tonight. I am Nick Roloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. Hopefully, everybody had a good Thanksgiving week. But the Heat have won 6 straight games. And Tyler Herro officially returned to the Heat lineup on Monday against the Mavericks. And the Heat narrowly escaped both the games on Monday against the Mavericks and Wednesday against the Bucks. But on Saturday, tonight, as we're filming this, they host the Detroit Pistons, who come into this game number 1 in the Eastern Conference. They have the best record in the East at 15-4. Miami has the third best record at 13-6. And although we've made a lot of videos describing how the Heat can make an official statement to the NBA, to themselves, and everyone in the sports world that this is a legit contender in the East, they can do it once again today in this game against Detroit, who, by the way, have lost back-to-back games. I mentioned Miami, winners of 6 straight, second largest winning streak in the Eastern Conference. Only team better than them right now is the Toronto Raptors, who are winning 9 straight games at 14-5. But I truly do think this is a really good measuring stick. I think Detroit is an excellent basketball team. So much the fact that I actually placed a future on them to win the Eastern Conference back in July. That's how strongly I felt about the Pistons taking another leap forward this season with Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, adding Duncan Robinson, among some other players coming off their bench. This is a really good ball club, and Miami has exceeded expectations to the highest degree to this point in the season. Can they do it one more time and take down the top team in the East? Because not only would it make a statement that this Heat team can beat anybody in the conference, as they've already beaten the Cleveland Cavaliers, they've already beaten the New York Knicks, they've beaten the Philadelphia 76ers. They've beaten the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, it would do that, but it would also just showcase how Miami is that legit. And moving to 14-6 on the year would put them one step further into potentially becoming a top 2 team in the conference. And we're talking no longer play-ins anymore. We're talking, where are we being seeded? We're jockeying for position. So when the playoffs officially start in April, then Miami is going to potentially be hosting a playoff series against a team like Atlanta or Cleveland or Toronto potentially in that part of the season. So this is a big-time opportunity for the Miami Heat. And I think if you want to win this game, you're going to need to see this Heat offense fully regain and get back to where it was prior to Tyler Herro returning, because there is a little bit of a difference with this Heat team over the past couple of games. Before we get into that, though, if you want the Heat to beat the Pistons today, hit that thumbs up icon. Don't jinx it. Let's get a win against the 15-4 Detroit Pistons. But yeah, there's no sugarcoating it. The Heat's offense has been a little bit different over the past couple of games. Yes, they've won both of those games against the Mavericks and Bucks, but they only scored 106 points in each of those 2 games. Allowed 103 to the Bucks, allowed 102 to the Mavericks. So narrowly winning those 2 games after consistently putting up 110, 115, 130, 120 in the games prior to Tyler Herro returning. And a lot of fans are asking, is Tyler Herro the reason why Miami is struggling right now offensively? Is he bringing down this Heat offense? I don't really know if that's the case, perhaps. Now, there has been some differences, obviously, and Miami is going to have a grace period here, because I think a lot of people just expected Tyler Herro to return to the lineup for Miami today, and next thing you know, oh, they're scoring 124 points per game. Oh, it's going to be 128 points per game. No, that's not how it works. Like, when Herro returns, he's obviously going to take some spots in the rotation. He's going to shoot the ball more than some other people, so other guys are losing opportunities to put points on the board. And that's not any fault to Tyler. Herro has proved in the past that he can be an all-star, a 24-point-per-game scorer. But the part that is going to be the one where it takes time is Miami's going to have to find the way to play in that up-tempo speed that they have been the first 15, 16 games of the season, to where Tyler returns. And it's not that they're going to play slow. They certainly have been a little bit slower in the 2 games with them. But they got to figure out the best way to mesh, because now you're seeing lineups that you haven't seen this year. The Heat started in that game on Wednesday against the Bucks where they were fully healthy. Davion Mitchell, Norman Powell, Tyler Herro, Andrew Wiggins, and Bam. That was the lineup that I expected them to go with, moving Ware to the bench and moving Larson to the bench. Now, the Heat still did play 10 guys. Nikola Jovic didn't actually even play in that game, so he might be out of the rotation. Might have to make a video about that in the next couple of days. But the point I'm trying to make is it's going to take some time for these guys to gel. But Tyler looked really good in those 2 games, in my opinion. He got off to a rough start, but he's averaging 26.5 points through his first 2 games. Like, that is certainly not a concern, and I just think as the players are meshing and gel together more and more here as the season progresses with Herro back in the lineup, it's only going to get even better. And we're going to continue this conversation and talk about another opportunity the Heat have, but this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It is the holiday season, best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once, and while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right, and that is Prize Picks. I play Prize Picks every single day. I've had a lot of success with Davion Mitchell, his more than on points, because he's averaging about 10 a game this season. That's usually where his projection is, about 8-9 points a contest. They also have a new feature. They have early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. I know we're talking basketball, but if your fantasy football season's over, you can still get in on the action every weekend, making your picks for the football season. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. As we continue the conversation on Herro, in the 2 games that he has played in against the Mavs on Monday and the Bucks on Wednesday, he had 24 points, 7 boards, no assists, which was odd, on 12 of 18 shooting from the field. Now, he didn't make a 3 in that game, but he's shooting about, 60% from the field in that game. And then on Wednesday against the Bucks, he had 29 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds on 9 of 15 shooting, and going 3 of 5 from beyond the arc. And although the fit has been clunky at times because they are still learning where people need to be in the right spots, the meshing, the gelling, but he has bailed out Miami in a couple of tough spots offensively where the Heat are going through a drought or they're at the end of the shot clock and they don't have a good set rolling and they just throw it to Tyler and he's able to create something out of nothing. I mean, his ability to have his touch around the paint, like he gets 2 feet in the paint, it's night-night, because he is either going to stop and hit that little 5 to 7 foot floater, which feels like he makes 90% of the time, or he's going to draw a defender and lob it to Ware or drop it off to Kel'el Ware, who still has looked very, very good in this past week, even with Tyler Herro returning and Ware heading to the bench. Now, I do think he might start in this game against the Pistons because Detroit goes a little bit big with Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart, so it could make sense to go with the double big lineup with Bam and Ware and maybe move Davion Mitchell to the bench for a game or even move Andrew Wiggins to the bench for a game. We'll see what Eric Spoelstra ultimately does, but that's certainly an option. But I don't think Herro is going to slow down this offense. Yes, the numbers have gone down over the last 2 games, but I think it's way too early to tell this is something that's going to be here for the rest of the season. I think we got to let it play out, give it 2 weeks. And once we get into mid-December, let's just say like the 14th or 15th of December, if the Heat's offense has clearly gone off a decline, there are going to have to be conversations had. Now, there's also a reason to maybe expect it to go down because they're playing at such a fast pace. These veterans like Wiggins, Mitchell, Powell might just decline in efficiency because it's going to take a tear and toll on their body. But there's a lot of different reasons why the offense could decline. I'm not making excuses for Tyler Herro. I think it's just way too early to make a statement that he is dragging down this Heat offense because in the last 2 games, they haven't put up 120 and 125 points. If this continues over the next couple of weeks, okay, then we can diagnose the issue and talk about another problem. And we'll be here every step of the way, so make sure you hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel. We'll be live again on Monday night for the Clippers Heat game. And also let me know, do you think Herro is slowing down this Heat offense? Y for yes or N for no. But I wanted to end this show by saying this. The Heat did officially move on in the NBA Cup. First time in team history, they have advanced from the group stage to the knockout stage, defeating Milwaukee on Wednesday, moved them to 3-1 on the year, and due to their point differerential being so high, because they beat the Hornets by 18, they beat the Bulls by like 30, even with that one 8-point loss to the Knicks, they still had a, 40 plus 44, 49 point differential, which ultimately made them the wild card team. Now the Knicks finished 3-1, and because they beat Miami, they won the group, so the Heat made it in as that fourth Eastern Conference team, that wild card team, if you will. And the schedule, if you're wondering, is December 9th. It's a Tuesday. Miami will go to Orlando, who actually ended up being the number one team in the East in terms of their group play. So they'll go to Orlando. It'll be a 6 p.m. game. And if they win that game, they'll move on to the semifinals, which is in Las Vegas. They move to 4 games, and then if they were to win that game, they actually move on to the finals, which would be, I believe, a Tuesday. The next game would be a Saturday in the semifinals for Miami. The teams that they might play is the Knicks and Raptors. They won the 2 other groups, so the Knicks and Raptors play that Tuesday. Winners play each other, losers play each other. What do I mean by that? Well, obviously, if the Miami Heat win, they advance to the semifinals and will play the winner of Knicks Raptors in Las Vegas. But if they lose, they will have a different schedule because Miami still obviously has to play an 82nd game because they allot 2 games in this kind of stretch. And if you make it to the finals, you just play an 83rd game. That doesn't count in the standings or the stats in the NBA. It just is its own random game that the teams play to potentially win the NBA Cup and make money. But here are the situations. If the Heat lose and the Raptors beat the Knicks, Miami will play the Knicks in New York on December 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If the Heat lose and the Knicks win, Miami will host the Toronto Raptors on December 15th at 7:30 p.m. So those are the 2 scenarios. Either Miami wins and plays the winner of Knicks Raptors in Las Vegas in the semifinals, or Miami loses. They will play the Knicks in New York. If they lose, if the Raptors lose, it will be in Miami. So there is an opportunity if the Heat lose this game and the Knicks lose, the Heat will only play 40 home games this year rather than the usual 41-41 split. So we'll see here how this ultimately goes. But either way, fun game tonight on tap between the Heat and Pistons. We'll be here tomorrow with another video. Little bit of a hiatus due to the Thanksgiving week. Hopefully you all had a good holidays, and we ramp up our coverage here on the channel once again. So hit that sub button, and let's get a win tonight against the Pistons. Go Heat.